7 things most beginners do wrong with their Cricut. Let's go. The first mistake that most of us crafters, whether you guys are a beginner with your Cricut or whether you guys are a pro, is forgetting to mirror. So if you guys are working with HTV, which is heat transfer vinyl, also known as iron-on, you have to mirror it. So that's something that a lot of us forget to mirror. And what really sucks is whenever you only have one piece in that color, so you have one shot and you forget to mirror, it's over with. There's nothing you can do to recover. So a few things that you can do to help you remember. A lot of people will even make stickers for their Cricut that says right here, don't forget to mirror. Or a simple tip that you can do, instead of waiting till you go to make it to mirror, you can always make it a habit if you're working with heat transfer vinyl, is to flip. So if you come up here to the top, if you click on flip, you can flip horizontal or vertical. I'm gonna click flip horizontal. So instead of waiting to send this over to the machine, I would flip it right here. So that way I don't forget. So if you make a habit right here to do that with any sort of heat transfer vinyl designs, you're gonna be good to go. Now there's a few different ways that you guys can mirror this. So number one, once you hit make it, you can go ahead and go right down here to the bottom and turn on mirror from here. So let's say I forgot to mirror it at this point. I went ahead and hit continue. So let's assume that you've made it this far and you forgot to mirror. What can you do without completely canceling this thing out? You can actually click where it says edit, and then from here, down here at the bottom, you have the option to turn on mirror once again, and then you're just simply going to hit done. So once again, let's assume that we've made it this far without mirroring it. The next option that you have is I'm gonna choose iron-on because that's what I'm working with. So I'm gonna choose everyday iron-on. So once you make it this far, you are gonna get a warning from Cricut one more time to say, make sure that you have mirror turned on, and they're also gonna tell you to make sure and put shiny side down. So they're gonna try to warn you one more time. So at this point, I'm like, whoa, I've already chose my material. I totally forgot to mirror. I can click that edit once again from this screen, turn that mirror on, click done, and now I'm ready to cut it out. Cricut mistake number 2, HTV versus adhesive vinyl. How can you tell the difference? There's a few different ways to tell whether it is adhesive vinyl or HTV. So let me go ahead and show you a couple. So say for example that we are working with a couple solid colors right here. I have them both in the drawer and I don't know which one's adhesive and which one is HTV, because if we have glossy adhesive vinyl, it could be this as well. So it would look like this nice shine as well. So there's one way to tell is if you flip them both over. Most adhesive vinyl has a backing like this. It'll be a white backing. Maybe it'll have a logo on it for the brand. It will usually have a backing of some sort like this where you can tell where your HTV will not. So this side is your adhesive and this is going to be your carrier sheet. Now there will be times that that's not going to work. So let me go ahead and show you a prime example. So here we have HTV versus adhesive vinyl. So I'm gonna go ahead and flip these over. And how can you tell? How can you tell which one is adhesive vinyl and which one is HTV? So you guys let me know, push pause in the comments below. Is it the orange that is the HTV or is it the pink purple? So you could put pink or you could put the orange. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys just a couple of seconds to answer that down below. All right, so let me show you how can you figure this one out. This is the best tip that I can give you is to take a corner. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get a corner here. And as you can see, this one has a clear backing. So that's what makes it so difficult. And then this is sticky. So anytime it has a stick to it, it's adhesive vinyl and it's not HTV. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you this one now. So the clear was on the bottom of this one, as you can see. And when we go to peel this one, you're going to notice that that clear is on the top and it is not sticky. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my corner here just like this. So I've got the clear on top of this design here, this holographic, if you will, and there is no stick to it at all. And so now I can distinguish which one is which. Cricut mistake number 3, print and cut using flatten. So whenever you create your stickers, a lot of the time, especially if you're new or even if you are a pro, because I still forget sometimes, if you don't use flatten, if you're making your very own stickers, it's going to try to cut around your offset as well as your design. Let me show you what I mean. So what I have done here is I have brought in a sticker from our sticker bundle, which is actually included in our Halloween bundle right now, so definitely make sure and check it out. So all of our stickers already have these offsets and they are ready to go. So there's nothing you need to do but bring them inside of Cricut Design Space, size them out to what you want, and cut them out. Now, if you were going to take one of our PNGs here and you were going to turn it into a print and cut, and you want to have that outside border like this one does, and let me actually change the background of my screen. So if you don't know, here's another little tip that's a bonus. You can actually come down to your blank canvas right here, and then I'm going to go ahead and just change this to pink so we can see what we got going on here. So once you do that, you're going to click your screen and then you can see that. And so now you can see that I have this white offset here and I don't have one on this one. So what's going to happen is if I go to cut this out, it's going to cut all of these little pieces. So to create a sticker, what you're going to do is click on this. So what's amazing is you can use any of our sublimation designs, PNGs, JPEGs, all of those things to create your very own stickers with anything. So what you're going to do is come up here to offset, and then you may need to give it just a few seconds to load, and then you can adjust it. So right now where it's came in, I may want to bring it back just a tiny bit. I'm happy with this. I'm just going to go ahead and hit apply, and then it's automatically going to change it to black. So what I'm going to do is I will actually come right over here and change it to white. So I actually should have had that offset just a tiny bit smaller, but hey, I'm happy with it. Now they are two separate pieces, so honestly, if I wanted to, I could kind of size this down still just a little bit, and I can adjust it like so and still center that if I want to. So as you can see here, this is two separate files. So for our sticker that I brought in from our sticker bundle, it's all one. So how do we make these two one? So what you're gonna simply do is you're gonna select both of those like this, and now we can see both of those are selected, or you could select one, hold down the shift on your keyboard and select the next one. And what's very important about print and cut is you come down here and you see this flatten option. You're going to hit flatten, and what this is going to do is make a sticker. So now whenever we go to cut these out with our print and cut, it's only going to cut all the way around that offset instead of trying to come in here and getting all of these pieces. So if you ever make a sticker and you wonder why your Cricut is trying to cut all of those pieces, you just simply forgot to flatten it. So all you need to do is flatten that design and you're going to be good to go. Now to go ahead and add in a few little extra bonuses here, whenever it comes to print and cut, if you didn't know, say I had several stickers on here, I could actually make this square bigger. Once you go to make it, I can actually take this sticker here and move it over here, and you notice that my print and cut just got bigger. I could do the same thing. If I brought this down here, it's going to make the entire page have that border all the way around. So you can still move your stickers around once you're on this screen. So that's just another tip for me. So for my last little bonus whenever it comes to print and cut is how to know exactly what size is the maximum that you can cut with print and cut. So once you have your design in here and you have it nice and big, you're gonna notice a little warning right here. And if you actually click that warning, it will actually give you the exact dimensions of how big that you can cut to. So it'll tell you to reduce. Now what I do is the biggest we can do is 6.75 by 9.25. So this is what I do. If I want to keep my design as big as possible, I will come over here and I will figure out which one is the biggest. So my width is actually the biggest here. So it's 15 by, instead of 10. So I'll actually change this one here to that 9.25. Just like that. And so now you can see it's no longer a warning. So I'm no longer getting that as a warning or anything like that. So had I done it in the opposite direction and I'd done it over here and I did 9.25, you're gonna see because I went with a smaller one that width is still bigger. You have to go with that biggest one. So in order to keep that max and just go for the very first shot, go with the biggest number and change that to the biggest number allowed. Cricut mistake number 4 is wasting materials. And along with this wasting materials, I'm going to be showing you guys with a font. And so this is going to be another little bonus for me. So one thing that every Cricut owner wants to know is how to create the stacked font. And we actually have a stacked font bundle that includes a ton of different designs or styles, if you will. And so what makes it so easy about this font is you're simply going to download it to your computer, which is going to save it to your machine. And all you're going to do is go to text, and then you're just simply going to come to font. And then I just went to system, which is right here, and I typed in stacked, and it brought up the 2 that I have already added. So then you're simply just going to select the one that you want to use. You can see it's already stacked for us, which is amazing. So all you're gonna do is double tap, and then we're simply just gonna go ahead and type. So I'm gonna go ahead and just do something like Boss Babe, just like that. Now I do have a tutorial here on the channel showing you guys how to change these into different colors. So definitely make sure you check it out. But like I said, we make it super easy for you guys. There's no hacks. You don't have to do slicing and all that kind of stuff. The font is already ready for you. So I've already got this ready. I'm gonna go ahead and size it down. So say for example, it's something about like this. I'm going to be just personalizing something using adhesive vinyl. I'm gonna go ahead and go to make it. When you're new to Cricut, the very first thing that you think is to take your fresh 12 by 12 sheet, get it on your mat, load it up, and let your machine cut it out. Then what you're gonna do is you're gonna go ahead and unload that entire piece of material. You're gonna take your scissors and you're just going to hack that thing away and have all these little, you know, squiggly lines and all of that stuff. So you definitely don't have to do that. There's a few really cool ways to do this. Number one, if you do want to load this onto your Cricut mat like this, the entire thing, if you flip it over, most brands have these grid lines on the back, and each grid line is 1 inch. So 1 inch, 1 inch. And so what you can do is you can flip it over, and that's gonna give you a straight line. Or before you get started, so you don't have to load the entire thing, flip it over and count. So for example, I need at least a 9 by 4. I'm gonna go ahead and count 1, 2, 3, 4. Now make sure if you notice that it's a little bit smaller here, that may be a half, I usually won't count that one. I'll start from here and say 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'll count in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then I would just cut that out, and then I would load it. Now, to make things even easier, what I like to do is take a paper trimmer. So a paper trimmer is going to be your absolute best friend when it comes to HTV and adhesive vinyl. So what you're gonna do is pop this guy open, load it up here. I'm gonna go ahead and move this guy out of our way. You're gonna take your material. And so for example, like I said, I was cutting a 4. Always cut your smaller piece first. So don't come way down here and waste your material and cut a 9 first. Always cut the shorter piece first. So you're gonna cut the 4, we're gonna go ahead, cut it. Now we're gonna take, because it is a 12 by 12 sheet, you're going to get it loaded up here. We're gonna get it on that 9 mark, just like that. We're gonna cut it again. And now we have that perfect size to load on our mat. This is going to prevent waste because like I said, a lot of times we're gonna go ahead, leave that and cut around, and you can no longer load a straight line with all that cut line. So I do highly recommend use a paper trimmer or flip it over and cut with that grid line. Cricut mistake number 5, not using the unlock feature. So whenever it comes to sizing your design, you may not even realize that you can actually unlock your design and figure out however big you want that to be. So for example, say I'm making a coffee mug, and I'm gonna come over here and I want this guy to be around 3.5 inches high, and then it's gonna give me 2.831 wide, but I'm actually wanting it to be around the 3 inches or 3.5 wide. So what you can actually do is click on this unlock, which you can see now is unlocked. Once it's unlocked, you can come over here and we can adjust this. So say for example, I do 3.5, I'm gonna hit enter, and you're gonna notice that it's gonna pull out. So the height is still 3.5. If you're happy with it, go ahead and lock that back. And now, as you guys can see, I'm gonna go ahead and zoom this out just to show you a little bit. Everything is still good to go. So as long as when you size this out and you unlock it, it's not distorted and looking really funny. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So let's hit the unlock. So let's say I did something like this. This doesn't look good. You don't want anything like this or anything like this. But as long as you can still see everything nice and smooth, you're good to go. So whether you are customizing a coffee mug or whether you guys are making a sign. So a lot of times I see people take, let's say for example, I have a 12-inch sign and it's by 24 inches high. And so they'll only have it kind of right here in the sign, where they could have actually brought out the width and then brought out that height and really still kept it intact, and then it would look really, really well. So make sure that you guys are using that unlock feature. Cricut mistake number 6. Shrinking HTV. Yes, it's a thing. So if you have more than one layer, for example, the design that I'm using today has several layers, as you can see, so I'm gonna have to apply the heat to this multiple times. If you do the entire heat for every single layer, you're going to get shrinking to where those layers may not line up anymore. So today I'm going to show you guys how to prevent that. Now, before we get started on this, a bonus tip that I want to show you guys is, say for example that all of these layers are going to be the everyday iron-on. I'm going to choose that. You want to make sure that you select right here. You see where it says remember material settings. If you actually click that with a check mark, it's not going to ask you again. So if you guys are frustrated because every time you go to load your next piece, it's going to ask you what you are using, you just need to make sure you turn on remember. Now, if I, for example, had a piece of glitter and it was only one, I would still turn it on, but once I got to that glitter, I would go ahead, just click here and change it to my glitter settings. To start our layering process, the very first thing that I like to do is line up my pieces so I know in what order these are going to go, so everything will line up perfectly. Once you do that, I can then also look at this as a whole piece, and I can line this up on the tote bag here so I can figure out exactly where I want that to go. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and peel away all of the other layers except for the bottom. The next thing, since I'm actually using the 9x9, I need to press this twice. If you only need to press this once, you're only going to do this one time. I am using Siser Easy Weed, so I only need a 2-second tack down, where if I was using something like the Cricut material, I would do a 5-second tack down. You'll figure out what works best for you. Basically, if I did it with 1 second and I was able to peel this up and it stayed, then you only need a 1-second tack down. So you'll figure that out as you play around with your HTV. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on top here. You can hit the go button just so you can visually see 2 seconds. And then I'm going to come down here, press it again. I'm going to see 2 seconds. Now, if you need to, for example, this is a Cricut Easy Press 3. I could use my phone and I can actually set it to give me the 2-second tack down. So that way I can have that ready to go each time. So now this is a warm or hot peel. So if it's ready to go, I'm going to go ahead and peel off the top. What's really important is if this is your biggest piece, make sure you save this because you're going to reuse it to protect everything. So I'm going to show you in just a second. So we're going to set that aside. So once this is cooled back down, you don't want to do it while it's hot or these are going to activate. So let it kind of cool back down a little bit. You're going to line back up your next pieces so you can visually see where everything's going to go. My next piece is going to be my eyes. So I'm going to go ahead and get those down. Now, if you could get down a couple pieces, you can do so. So I do believe I could go back and add these little pieces at the same time. So I'm gonna get my eyes along with these little pieces so I can just knock those out at the same time. We're gonna take that same carrier sheet as we had from the very first piece, cover it up, and we're gonna go. So I only need to go in this area one time for 2 seconds. So I'm gonna go right here. We're gonna have 1, 2, and we're gonna pick it up. And we're just gonna continue this process all the way through. So like I said, what's very important is that you are only doing a 2-second tack down, and this is going to prevent shrinking. So all of my pieces should continue to line up. If anything's trying to come up with you at that 2-second tack down, just give it a few seconds. You probably don't need heat. You just need to let it kind of cool just a little bit because once again, we are not giving it that full 30 seconds. So we got to be very careful with it. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to peel. Now you can see this bottom part is exposed, but I'm not going to put my heat on it, so I'm not worried about it. We're just working with the black. Now here is another tip. So we are on our very last color. So instead of pressing this for the full 30 seconds now, we're gonna do one more 2-second tack down because I don't want to do it all at one time or you're going to get a crease around his mouth. So I've got a small piece here, that plastic will leave a crease. So what you wanna do is just cover everything up. And then I'm just gonna go down here at the bottom. I'm gonna go ahead and do another 2-second tack down. Lift that guy up. Now for our very final press, 2 things that you can do. Number 1, you can use the carrier sheet from the biggest piece to cover everything up. It may take you a couple pieces. You put one here, one at the bottom, or you could definitely cover it with a piece of parchment paper. Now for your final press, you want to press it for the full amount of time. So we have 30 seconds. I'm going to do 30 seconds at the top and 30 seconds at the bottom. All right, so now we're going to move that out of the way. And so we're going to peel for the very last time. And just like that, we did not have any shrinking and everything lined up where it was supposed to. Cricut mistake number 7. So we are on our very last mistake. So this is the file that I'm going to be using. So with this mistake is not using enough pressure to cut leather. So I've seen this question for years whenever it comes time to cut out something like leather. And I am using a Cricut Maker today, but I'm going to be using the exact same cut settings as if I had the Cricut Explorer, even if it's the older Cricut Explorer models. So yes, you can make this with your older Cricut Explorer models. You do not need a Cricut Maker to create something like this. So I'm going to show you guys what you guys are doing wrong. So I brought the design over into Cricut Design Space. This thing is completely ready to go. It's got 3 different designs to choose from. This is the one I chose. What we're simply going to do is go ahead and take it all the way over to make it. I'm going to choose on the mat and continue. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit continue again. So now what we're gonna do is go to browse all materials and then we're simply gonna choose leather. So as you can see, there is several leathers over here. So what you wanna do is make sure what kind of leather are you working with? Is it something that's paper thin? Is it something that's got, like for example, this has got a metallic or a shimmer to it. You have tooling leather, there's all sorts of different ones. So number 1 is figuring out maybe what kind of leather are you working with. So for me, I've got a little bit of shimmer as you can see here, and I'm actually gonna use this really fun pink one right here. So I'm actually gonna choose shimmer leather and then I'm gonna hit done. Now this is gonna be the tip for me. When I'm working with leather, number 1, use a purple mat. So your purple mat is going to be your best friend. So that's number 1. Number 2, I automatically choose that I want more pressure. This is going to ensure that it's going to cut all the way through the first time. So we're gonna load this on our purple mat. So the purple mat is your strong grip mat, which is made for really finicky materials like this that may want to pop off your mat. So you want to use a purple mat. I could probably get away with the green mat, but highly recommend your purple. So as you can see, I am using the Maker 3, but it's telling me to load my fine point blade, which means you can use a regular Cricut Explorer. So we're going to go ahead and load this guy in here, and then we're going to go ahead and hit that go button. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and unload it. I'm gonna flip it over and peel it off. So as you guys can see, you've got that perfect cut and it really just helps. It's not gonna hurt anything to use more pressure. So if you're struggling, you can always do a little test cut up at the top and figure out what works best for you. But honestly, if you're struggling, just use more pressure. So let's go ahead and put it together. I purchased these little plastic fasteners for like $1, $2, but you could definitely do little metal rivets with a little tool like this. So feel free to do with this however you would like. And just like that, we have made our very own iPod cover using leather. So don't be afraid to pull out your leather and make those really fun crafts that you guys see, whether it's a keychain or an iPod holder like you guys have seen here. You guys can even make these same projects using your older versions of your Cricut. Just make sure you guys use those purple mats as well. And there you guys have it. Those are 7 Cricut mistakes that everybody makes, whether you guys are a beginner or a pro, like I said. So I hope you guys have found these helpful. If you have, let me know down below which one was a newbie for you guys today, or maybe one of your favorites. Like I said, let me know in the comments down below. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. If you did, please hit the like button down below and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.